Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denice Show. This is part 3 in an interview series with a passionate young woman from a Muslim-dominant country who knows very well what it is like to be a non-Muslim living in countries where Islamic law and rule dominate. And of course, we have with us today Sophia. Sophia, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Denice, and hello, everybody.
We're just so glad you're with us. And ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we were talking about particularly or specifically Christians living under Islamic law and what that meant in terms of persecution and daily humiliations. And one of the issues that we wanted to talk about today was the issue of rape. So many women in the Middle East are raped on a daily basis. It's a terrific problem there. And of course, our very special guest, Sophia, a pseudonym. She has to remain anonymous because she does have family still living in the Middle East. But this young woman, as a small child, was raped. And Sophia, I would like you to first talk about what happened. You shared with me about an imam. Tell the audience, what is an imam?
An imam is equivalent, but not has to be like a pastor or a priest. It's not a good. It doesn't have to be a good person, but equivalent to be a church pastor or a priest.
Okay, so he's qualified. When you say that an imam is qualified to be like a pastor or a priest, what does that mean? Does he have to have some education?
He has to be knowledgeable about the Islamic teaching,
the Quran,
the different sources. Yeah, the Quran, the
Hadith.
The Hadith, and biography of Muhammad.
Very good. So I'd like you to share with the audience, because it was horrific to hear that an imam's wife actually trafficked you. Can you tell us your story, please, Sophia?
Sure. It's horrifying to know that an imam wife does that if we don't know what Islam teach. But if we know that Islam teach that rape of the non-Muslims, and especially the Christians and the Jews, is commendable and rewardable in Islam, you will understand that in her own sick mind, she was doing good. And she's going to get rewarded for that.
So what you're telling the audience then, and I just want to be clear, is that there are passages within the Quran, scriptural passages, that tell a Muslim that it is perfectly appropriate to buy and sell infidels and to use them sexually or rape them. Is that correct?
Yes. One simple reference is Surah 8, number 8, and the verse number 69.
Chapter 869, and I've read that several times. Thank you so much for confirming that. I know these things are true because I've read the Quran, but I appreciate you coming on the broadcast and just confirming that for the audience. So we know it's in the Quran. An imam, which is a leader, a religious leader within the community, and his wife are participants in this kind of evil. So tell us your story, Sophia. What happened to you?
I've been countless times abused sexually when I was an adult. But since age 6, imam wife, we lived across from an imam, and his wife.
Across the street? I'm sorry, excuse me for interrupting. Were you like living across the street? Were they living in your neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And she used to come and take me and then give me to a big built man over 50 years old to sexually molest me. And she used to look me in the eye and she say, if you dare to tell anybody, I will kill your mom. And as you know, as a kid, you don't understand what's happening to you because you don't know where it's at, and you feel something very odd and wrong. But in the meantime, you are terrified to tell anybody.
Well, you're 6 years old, and if I heard you correctly, you said that the imam's wife threatened to kill your mother if you talked about it. Did you ever understand or actually find out why this woman would take a 6-year-old child? I mean, apart from the fact that the Quran says it's appropriate or it's right for a Muslim to do this, but I mean, apart from that, did you ever really get to a place where you sort of understood why a religious leader's wife would give you for sex to a 50-year-old in the community?
Yeah, I want Americans to understand. They think of everything they do against any aggression against the non-Muslims as something that they're gonna get rewards for. So everything she did to me and to the other Christians, she's gonna get rewarded in heaven on her Islamic paradise for it, or escape hellfires.
What kind of reward does she think she's going to get for abusing a child? What kind of reward in heaven would a woman like that get from her perspective, from an Islamic perspective? What would be the reward? Do you know?
For women, usually they will skip. There is a chance, but not guaranteed chance, to skip hellfire. For men, they're gonna get more sexual rewards. And in paradise, sex is a very big topic, but I'm gonna try to cover as much as I can. In paradise, they're gonna get rewarded by getting all types of sex: female, males, kids, everything, fruits, everything. And among that, also they will have Allah will reward them Christian kids, Christian boys, little ones. They will be bottomless, walking around to pleasure the Muslims, and when the Muslims have sex with them, they will not bleed.
Okay, so this is the kind of teaching that's happening in communities in the Muslim world. Is this the kind of thing that's spoken about in mosques?
Yes, mosque is not a holy place. Mosque is not a place that you go and worship and you feel more spiritual. Islam does not teach anything moral whatsoever. So mosque, they learn all that, everything hostile or very aggressive toward the non-Muslims. That's where they go and learn. And as a matter of fact, also according to Islamic teaching, Muslims can have sex inside the mosque under one condition: they don't come, they don't
fully.
They feel the pleasure.
Yes, right. I understand. So you were raped several times then as a child, and you indicated that later as a young adult you were raped as well. Did I understand that correctly?
I escaped rape.
You escaped it. How did you escape it? What happened there?
It's a very odd story, but my rapist, after he tried many times, he fell asleep.
Oh.
And it was a guard outside, and I was able to escape.
Well, thank God for that. I imagine that you were probably very busy praying as well, that you can somehow escape. I can see my own self in a situation like that, and I would just be praying constantly that somehow I would escape such a situation. So we know that the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda we do know that other terrorist groups, Hamas, various individuals, I've heard people from the Sudan, for example, talk about how in northern Sudan, the Muslims will literally come into South Sudanese villages in order to kidnap children and use them for either sexual pleasure or domestic service, for slavery, to do work there on farms and ranches and inside people's homes. It's a horrific thing. I read a report that there are 27 million slaves currently in this year, 2020. I want you to have an opportunity to continue sharing, but if you had a message to the American people today with regards to the number of slaves, what would that message be? Because I know that our government, particularly President Trump and Vice President Pence, have put some emphasis on trying to bring freedom to Christians that are persecuted and Jews as well around the world. But as somebody that's come from the Middle East and suffered horrible abuse, is there something else that we need to be doing as a country, as a nation? I mean, apart from praying, in our churches and synagogues, we can pray for slavery to end and for this kind of persecution to end. But is there something else that you have thought of that you think Americans need to consider?
Oh yes, for sure. Sudan is something heavy on my heart also.
Okay.
And what's happening in Sudan, you can find out more about it. There is a documentary called "The Harsher Face of Islam." Please, everybody, check this out.
The Harsher Face of Islam. Okay.
Yes.
All right. The Harsher Face of Islam. Very good. I've written that down. I'll include that in tonight's talking points. This gives a better picture of what's going on in Sudan.
Yeah, and it gives you a good picture of how Muslim operates. It's
Okay.
excellent documentary. And if you want to sum it up, sum Islam up, is very simple. It comes into sex, blood, and money, and they all work together like a cycle. About what should we do? We need to learn about Islam, and it's not so hard. Once we understand about Islam and who is doing all that, we will be able to stand up for it, stand up
to it.
Innocent.
Yes, stand up to it. Certainly, we will. The more we get informed, what do you recommend apart from us becoming more educated? And by the way, that's why I've had you on the broadcast, so you can better educate the audience. Apart from education, from prayer, from bringing understanding to these issues, are there any other thoughts or ideas you've had on what the United States needs to do specifically?
I want to say that people here are a bit confused about whose group is doing what, and if there is good and versus the bad ones. I want to tell you, like we mentioned yesterday, that they all work to advance Islam, from the tiniest Muslim in the street to the highest hierarchy in the government. The first priority in this earth is to advance Islam and against the non-Muslim, and take over their countries. Mm-hmm. And the easiest to take over are the Christians, because according to their teaching, that the Christians are the less resisting enemies. They don't resist as much. That's why they go to the Western country first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we certainly do see that. There's a lot of interfaith dialogue. And I know that Philip Haney and I had talked about that, because we find it actually very deceiving. Both of us have attended interfaith dialogues, And there's never a true picture portrayed of Islam and the subjugation of non-Muslims in Muslim dominant countries where non-Muslims are a minority population. So it really, when you go to an interfaith dialogue, it makes it sound as though Islam is full of love and peace. In fact, I've been told that by Muslims who will come right up to me, face to face, within inches of my face, and say to me, Islam is all about peace and love. To which I then say, why is there such animal abuse? Because animals are mistreated horribly in the Middle East. Why is there such child abuse? Why are women stoned to death? Why are people crucified? Why are people burned alive? I mean, why is it that all of these things are happening all over the Middle East, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Jordan? We think of Jordan as one of the most, I think, modern, contemporary Muslim Arab countries, but women are still stoned to death there. And that's a real ally of the United States. And I'm not saying that we don't need the Arab world to be allies on a national level. Certainly, we have to work with the whole world. But we also need to, I think, appreciate the fact that a tremendous amount of prayer and work needs to be done in terms of foreign policy with respect to dealing with the horrific human rights abuses. I'm also thinking about female genital mutilation, Sophia.
Yeah.
This has been against the law in the United States, and now I understand that there's a tremendous number of cases that the FBI is now having to deal with. Would you like to speak to that as well today?
I want to say that about the FGM, because I'm a victim myself of that. And
why? Why are you a victim of that as a Christian?
Yeah, what people don't realize is that the first victims of Sharia law or Islamic laws are the non-Muslims more than the Muslim themselves, because this is their culture, this is what they want, this is what they are content with. But as a Christian, if my mom and my parents don't do that to me, I will be considered a whore, and I will be called a whore. So to avoid being bullied by Muslims, Christians have to go through that too.
Through female genital mutilation. Were you at least allowed to be asleep during the process, or how did your parents, as Christians in that country, how did they manage that? Were you taken to a hospital? Was it done inside the home?
No.
Was there painkillers? What?
No, it's horrifying.
Yes.
Definitely the worst thing can happen to you.
Yes.
Because there is you don't go to a hospital, you go in a place full of kids waiting, and they don't even know, and screaming. And there is somebody very aggressive with a tiny razor. He cuts and throw you on top of the bite of other kids. That's it. And
so you stand in line, you hear little girls screaming. They go in there real quick with a razor and they slice you up, and then you're ready to go home.
Yeah, and they throw you on top of the other kids, the pile of kids that been already FGM'd.
It's just incredible. How do they throw you onto the other children? I mean, so the children, aren't they in bed so that they can recover from this slicing of the female genital mutilation? I mean, aren't they kept there maybe overnight to check to make sure they don't get an infection? I mean, is there?
No.
There's
no, it's no bed. There's nothing. It's a muddy.
It's just a bloody
ground.
mess.
Yeah. And nothing. There's no bed, nothing. I just want to say that because I heard this is the worst when you are terrified I'm sorry to say it, it's very bad, but if somebody has somebody's very terrified, he defecates himself, and this is what happened with me.
Well, absolutely. I just, I can't imagine being a little girl and going through that. That would be absolutely horrific. I can't imagine that one would ever be able to get over that. How do you deal with that now as an adult?
Well, one thing I want to mention that what happened with me is horrifying, and this is not an isolated story. This
Right.
is, please, everybody understand that this happened to millions of Christians who live under Islamic rules. In any Muslim country, there is different levels of Islamic rules, but it happened to millions of Christians, and it could happen worse to others than some. But
I'm so
the
sorry.
reality is, it's like a videotape that doesn't leave your head. It just keep going, and you have to find your way to deal with it. And for a while, I didn't want to talk about my persecution to anybody. I just wanted to
forget about it, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I mentioned is very crucial to mention that the reason I'm talking about my experience and about Islam toward the Westerners, because I was disturbed by a nightmare that I see a beautiful blonde girl that taken by Arabs and raped, and I scream and nobody heard my screams. And because of this, I kept getting that nightmare till I started to talk about it. And as you can tell that my accent is not the best, my English is not the best, but my message is Islam will destroy any civilization, definitely will destroy America.
Thank you so much. We so appreciate having you on the broadcast today, Sophia. Let's have you back on next Wednesday. I wanted the audience to know, are you still going to be able to talk to us about Ramadan? Ramadan begins next Thursday, and I was so hoping we could get you on the show next Wednesday or Thursday. Will that work with your schedule, Sophia?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been our very special guest, a young woman from the Middle East, who's brought us more information and better helped inform and educate the American people today. Sophia, God bless you. I pray for your healing, just body, soul, and spirit from all of this. And, God be with you, dear. God be with you.
Thanks so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you again for coming on the broadcast.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. It's just, and to think that this is going on in the lives of little children, little girls, throughout the Middle East is just horrific. And if you can do nothing at all, you can at least pray. You can at least pray and ask God to be able to move on people that embrace an ideology that says female genital mutilation and rape is okay. Pray that the light of God's love and peace fall on the Muslim world, and that all of this begin to change. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about a man that's a man of integrity, Carson Blacklock, working for Miramar International. He's a real estate agent, and he's the one to call if you need any help at all in buying and selling your property. 661-203-3544. 661-203-3544. And ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to talk about this after hearing an interview like that, but sponsors. We need to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Frugati's Restaurant. And they can be reached tonight. I hope you'll call them for dinner. And they will cook you a fabulous meal and walk it right out to your vehicle. So 661 is their number. 836-2000. 661 836-2000. Enjoy fresh, locally grown ingredients made by an Italian or Italians and that have come to America and have really been such generous and beautiful people in our community and done so much to help charity and all of that here in Kern County. I also want to thank Scott Baker, former Marine Corps officer and president of Anatase Products. Anatase Products sells hardware. They're a distributor, a manufacturer and a distributor of hardware to major defense contractors and aerospace companies around the United States. If you want to have your hardware manufactured and distributed by Anatase Products, they're the best company to work with. You want to give them a call. They really are part of the sort of the hub of the aerospace industry here in Kern County. We also have China Lake Weapons Center here. We have Edwards Air Force Base, and they're right there, and they do so much work. They can do your top secret lab work. Materials testing laboratory is, they can take care of all of your needs. Give them a call, 661-822-6873, 661-822-6873. And please, we need to hear from you. We need additional funding this month. If you could write a tax-deductible check and send it to the Middle East Initiative, again, it's tax-deductible. It's Middle East Initiative is my educational foundation, a 501c3. Put on the envelope, P.O. Box 82162, P.O. Box 82162, Bakersfield, California, 93380. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you stay safe. I hope that you are well and you remain well going forward. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.